Great. I'll record it now and we will get started.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So Rob, if you could just give me a little background in terms of the new folks that have joined in terms of their role, and Zach and I would like to make sure that we can hit on all cylinders in terms of what you guys want to see. I thought we'd do just sort of an overview presentation, and Zach can pick up some more technical dialogue around some of the product in terms of some of the basics that you guys wanted to hear more about, and keep it a little more higher level so that we don't go too deep in terms of some of the technical stuff if that's not needed today.
Sure. So Bob Romanowski is here, and he makes us all look like young pups. I've got 31 years with the corporation. And Bob, how many have you got now?
I've got 42.
I figured you had rolled over 41. I wasn't sure, though. And Bob is over production support operations. He supports over 60 applications, and the solution that my team and I support is just one of those 60. There are a few applications that hang off of our platform, but Bob has a lot more breadth and depth as far as support of other applications than just ours. And as far as gearing the presentation, just remember again that my team is more in the build or development space.
Yep. And
Bob again is going to be operations. So he's more concerned about the application running and how it's responding and monitoring of it.
Okay, great.
Anything to add, Bob?
Yeah, anything you want to check a box on, Bob?
No, I don't think so. I think Rob kind of summed it up.
Okay. Are you familiar with some tools that are more pointed towards web performance? Have you had any experience with those in the past?
No, not those types of tools.
Okay.
Our tools are pretty basic.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Can you all see my screen? You guys have a good view of my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about the what do we got here? There we go. Talk a little bit about CatchPoint in terms of what we're doing today, and talk a little bit about the background of who we are. So I don't know how much you guys know generically about CatchPoint, but I thought I'd go a little bit into the background today in terms of the who we are and what we basically have done in the past.
Pardon me, Jeff. Just one sec. This is Zach Henderson. Looks like your screen is showing the presenter side instead of the.
Oh, it is.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just seeing a blank white.
Mm-hmm. Oh, are you? Okay, sorry. Let me fix this. Let's see.
If you had a monitoring tool, it would probably tell you what was wrong.
Yeah. All right. Can you see it normal now?
Yes.
Okay. Is that better for everybody? Zach, is that okay on
Yep.
your side?
It's okay on my side.
All right. Sorry. All right. So this is basically the little bit of background in terms of CatchPoint. We started in 2008 by 4 folks that were at the DoubleClick company and also Google environment. So back in 2008, they started the organization by building a better mousetrap in terms of web performance, web monitoring, operational monitoring of applications that really needed to have high availability. And so back in 2008, our CEO basically said that there's got to be a better way than some of the tools that they were using back then, that they could do a little more proactive monitoring with better data details. And so back then, he had some great ideas. He put it down on paper, and the four folks had basically started the infancy of CatchPoint and what they thought would be a great way to move a company forward. So back in 2010, they launched the product and basically put it on paper and put it into real results. And then they started getting, obviously, funding for startup stuff and basically put the company in motion. And from there, we've been growing ever since. So what CatchPoint really does, just for background, is basically we really do provide our customers monitoring of performance applications and availability for their online and their web-based portals. And we provide real-time performance analytics. We deliver comprehensive views of the distributed web applications that are really important to businesses. And we obviously protect brand integrity for the customers that face the internet and have customers buy products and services. So from here, what I'd like to do is have Zach kind of just go through what is behind the curtain at CatchPoint in terms of a simple model, so it's high level and we're not going too deep if you don't want to. But if you guys have questions, feel free to jump in, and Zach, you can take it from here.
Great, thanks, Jeff. So hello, everyone. My name is Zach Henderson. I'm a performance engineer here at CatchPoint. And so what CatchPoint primarily does is allows you to capture digital performance data and provide a deep breadth of analytics on that data. So we do this through two methods. We have a synthetic data capture, so we're simulating user interactions with the portal and capturing data about performance and availability, but also allowing you to separate it out into the components that matter, as well as getting alerts off of the data that matters. And so there's a few ways we can do this. We have this from our public infrastructure, as well as we can also deploy what we call CatchPoint nodes within your premise. So that's what we call our CatchPoint on-prem agents. If you can actually go to the next slide, Jeff.
Sure.
And then one more as well.
Right.
So what I'm discussing now is the CatchPoint synthetic data capture. It's the ability to basically simulate users interacting with different aspects of your web portal, as well as monitoring different parts of that web experience. So say monitoring the full browser web test separately from DNS infrastructure, separately from capturing network traceroute level data. And our CatchPoint infrastructure here is a fully global infrastructure. And we have nodes, 500 plus nodes publicly located around the globe, as well as the ability to have nodes located on premise, either virtualized or via physical hardware. And all these nodes will then report back data to our core data center at Switch SuperNAP in Las Vegas. But we also have backup data centers in San Jose, Dallas, DC, Frankfurt, and Hong Kong. And if the next slide, Jeff. Oh, and one more if you don't mind.
Sure.
Actually, slide 7, if you could.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, not a problem.
This one?
So yeah, so let's want a quick discussion about our nodes. CatchPoint nodes are full machines capable of running and proactively monitoring different aspects of your web infrastructure, different applications from any point globally worldwide. And we have a few different types of networks you can run on. So our nodes co-located in tier 1 data centers, which we call backbone nodes. We have last mile nodes, which is CatchPoint physical devices located in people's homes and offices behind consumer ISPs, as well as wireless, so 3G, 4G connections across the US. And also those on-prem devices, which can either be that virtualized VM image, can be a small piece of physical hardware about the size of an Apple TV, great for offices or call centers, as well as you can actually have full rack servers placed in your data centers as well. So these are all dedicated machines, and they're what we call stateless. So if there's any issue with the node itself, and CatchPoint cannot connect to the node to tell it to run a particular test, it actually won't capture data. The reason being that we have that set up is if there's an issue with the node, you don't want that affecting your test results. So it helps us to reduce false positives when it comes to node-related issues as well. Next slide, please. And so without the data we're capturing from all those different endpoints, all those different network profiles, CatchPoint has a powerful analytics engine to allow you to slice and dice the data. For our web test, we have 45 standard metrics that you can capture, ranging from detailed performance and availability data, as well as more high-level overall performance satisfaction scores. As well as you can actually bring in custom data metrics, which we call insight. So any reports that you want to create off of this data, whether it's versions of the site, responses from a CDN. For debugging purposes, you can actually create reports off that as well. In Catchpoint, we store this raw charting data for a full 3 years, and there's no aggregation of that data during that 3-year period. So a test run that you're charting 5 minutes ago is the same granularity as if it ran 3 years ago. And then on the fly, you can do all different breakdowns. We don't limit you to just averages or medians. You can actually go ahead and say chart the 99th percentile or a custom percentile, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, to truly understand what the data is telling you. And then if you need to drill down into a more debug level, individual request level charts, you can actually view what we call Catchpoint waterfall data as well. And all the data will be stored in Catchpoint, but we do provide very easy ways to access that data and bring it externally into any third party or any internal systems you have as well through our real-time push APIs or our pull API as well. Next slide, please.
Do you guys have any questions on this so far? Anything?
I do not.
Okay.
Great. And so Catchpoint's kind of charting example here is just a few very high-level views of the data, and I can actually show you a live demonstration as well. But its ability to slice and dice multiple dimensions of the data. So if you want to see performance, say, by individual server name, that's using the Catchpoint Insight values of those custom reports. But you can also view performance by individual host referenced on a domain. As an example, you can say separate support.xerox.com from another host that's within the support.xerox.com domain. And so it's just the ability to kind of filter the data by any regions you want, whether it's city, country, node, ISP, and have the access to the data that you need. And then next slide, please. And so there's just kind of a few more ways to do it as well. You can say chart by certain dimensions, show overlapping charts of data. So you can kind of have a graph that is meaningful to you and your team and make it as detailed or as high level as you need to. And actually all the real-time data we do capture, you can put into custom dashboards and also kind of share very simply with third parties or other members of your team through easy export tools within the portal. And so one of the key differentiators with Catchpoint is the ability to bring in any data you like into the system and create reports or chart that data over time. It's what we call Catchpoint Insight. So any information that's present in HTTP request or response headers or the actual body of the page, you can capture that and create reports off of those values. So there's two methods here that are what we call trace points. And so anything that you pass, perhaps a server name, data center name, application version, you can create performance and availability charts off of those metrics, as well as if you say want to chart server response time, number of active sessions, number of search results, any sort of internal value that you want to chart. You can kind of chart numerical values on the fly as well. It's a great way to not limit you to just the data that we provide, but also to have the data that's actionable and ready for you guys to act on. Next chart, please. And so there's one other differentiator here as well, is a lot of sites are composed of many different data sources. And so we allow you to capture the performance of each individual host referenced on the page, as well as actually create custom groupings of hosts, which you call zones. And so that way you can separate out infrastructure requests from third-party tags, from first-party tags on the fly. And it's fully controllable from you and your organization. And you can actually go ahead and be alerted off of just that particular zone if you'd like to as well. There's also one more type of charting here, where that drill down waterfall data, we view individual requests such as individual JavaScript, CSS, or image files. You can actually chart those individual files over time as well. So you don't have to have just a high-level browser performance. You can view it either in that zone, custom groupings, host level, or individual request level formats as well. Next chart, please. Thanks. And so all the data we capture is useful only if you can act upon it when there is an issue with performance or availability. And so Catchpoint's alerting is built to be as specific and as actionable as possible, with the ability to control custom triggers based off of number of failed locations, number of during a certain time window, as well as the ability to kind of have data available quickly at a glance, and then be able to dive down quickly into the data that is going to be actionable for you to fix the alert. This is also where CatchPoint's number of test types come into real focus here. It's not only just overall web performance, but being able to monitor and create network traceroute data, to be able to ping certain IP addresses, as well as independently monitor, say, your DNS environment. All the tools and steps you would do normally if you had a performance or availability issue, you could recreate that in CatchPoint and have that data available for when you do get an alert right from CatchPoint. And even with our alerts, we can actually tell you what we believe the top bottleneck on site performance is that's causing that issue. And you can go ahead and right away identify how to act. And each alert you set can actually be routed to individual users, and you can be notified via email, text message, as well as we have a great alert API to integrate with any third-party or internal tools as well if they will accept like a JSON, XML, or text response. And then next chart, please. And so with this alerting that CatchPoint provides, you can set warning, critical values, and set even just have it if it goes over a certain static threshold. But you can also say if it happens for a certain number of nodes, certain number of test runs, even go ahead and say if it starts trending poorly, say if it increases by 15% over a 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week window, it's in a warning state, and then perhaps 30% it's in a critical state. This is fully flexible and fully customizable for you and your needs. In all the data we do capture, since the nodes are stateless and have that reduction in false positives, it's a great way to actually be able to trust the data and not have it get an alert fatigue from a system. And so that's a high-level overview of some of the key functionality of the CatchPoint platform. I can dive down more into some more of the technical details and show you the portal if you'd like as well. But were there any questions so far?
Guys, is this anything you guys want to ask in terms of overview at all, or? Bob?
No, I think
No? Okay. What I thought Zach would do is maybe dive into a high-level dashboard view, a top-level view of the product, and have him just sort of, just go through kind of operationally how it might be a benefit for your team, Bob, and then certainly from the guys from a dev standpoint that kind of know where some of the value is at this point, and then maybe answer some questions if you have it, if that sounds okay.
Yeah, Jeff. So Zach, this is Rob. Bob's folks support global applications. So
Okay.
there's going to be users throughout the globe, and that's probably something that you need to know before you do anything in your demo.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Zach, do I need to pass over to you, or?
Yep, you can just stop the screen share, then I'll start sharing my screen.
Okay. All right. Stop share. How's that?
Great, so I should be sharing my screen here. Can you guys verify I'm circling the word support Xerox workflow here?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, and how's the text size? Is it readable on your end?
Don't make it any smaller.
I can zoom in a bit, make it easier. Is that a bit easier to read?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So this is the CatchPoint platform. It's a fully SaaS-based offering that you can access from any browser globally. And so what I have here is just a sample dashboard that you can create on the fly and see data right away when you hop into the CatchPoint platform. And so what I've done within CatchPoint is I've created what we call a transaction test. So basically I'm actually processing and going through the support.xerox.com and searching for a text field that's searching for paper jams, for instance. It's one of our test types is this full browser transactions. But what I can kind of show you here is if I go here to this question mark and go to node information, this is going to display a list of all the CatchPoint nodes we were discussing briefly earlier. And so you can see we have points of presence around the globe North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Australia, big presence in China as well. And we do have those mix of different node types, so backbone separate from last mile, separate from wireless, also separate from those on-prem or internal or custom locations. Were there any questions about the global infrastructure or the ability to monitor from these endpoints?
No.
Okay. So from all of these endpoints, I'll quickly show you just a list of test types you can run from. So I'm hopping into what we call our test module. This is where we create and edit and set up tests very easily here. And so through this drop-down list, we have the full list of catch point analysis. So we have, say, single web or single URLs, those multi-step transactions to go through and recreate a user action within a certain web application. But you can also say monitor APIs separately, your DNS infrastructure, FTP servers, TCP connections, SMTP servers, as well as capturing and analyzing more of network level data with trace routes. You can even go ahead and just SSH into a machine and monitor the performance and availability as well. Any questions or if we dive down deeper into these different test types, or should I kind of go back?
So Zach,
Yep.
I do have a question. You showed a global map and you have all your nodes displayed.
Mm-hmm.
If Xerox were to move forward and purchase, we would only see our nodes, correct? Or can we access CatchPoint nodes to run tests as well?
Yep, so that kind of dives down into the, if you sign a synthetic public node contract, you have access to all the nodes that we have in the map here. So on the fly, you can access any of these locations at any time, and there's no point difference or usage difference between North America, Asia, Europe. You could have one test running from all the locations if you like. And then in terms of the internal or the on-premise nodes, that's a different contract structure as well. And then you would only have access to those, and no other party would have access to those nodes.
Okay, so if we had a public node, would people be able to access anything that we put up?
Yes, if it's publicly available on the internet, or if you whitelist the IP ranges from those public nodes, then they should be able to access anything you put up. That's correct.
Okay.
Rob, are you talking about a private node that you would have inside of one of your data centers? Are you saying someone could access that private node, or they want to go to a public node from an on-prem agent?
No, the public node. So like right now on the left-hand side, I see different company names. Are those just like a grouping of tests or something?
Yeah, so in my demo account here, I kind of grouped them based off of company that I was demoing to. And so on the fly here, you can create your own custom groupings of tests, and they can have shared properties such as shared alerts, shared locations, and testing frequencies. So just a way.
But like
Yep.
web tests, is that available to anybody who has public node access, or is that a private group?
Yep, so this is actually fully customizable here on the left. If I were to say hop into another account here, you can see, say hop into another, what we call division of mine. They're kind of sub-accounts. It's a totally different organization structure that I've specified.
Okay, that's all I needed to know, Zach. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry to take you off task.
Oh, not a problem. So, yep, your account, you can provide access to it to whomever you like. And you can give custom user roles on the fly. As well as within your own account, you can create sub-accounts like I'm in now. So if you need to provide or limit access to certain parts of the portal, it's a very easy part to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Are there any questions about the different monitor types, or should I kind of show some of the data that we can capture off of those?
No questions for me.
Okay. So all the data I'm going to show you now in that dashboard I had set up is fully customizable, and you can do it over that full 3 years worth of charting. It's actually all done here in the analysis module, and I can show you a bit how after. What we have here in this case of a first custom dashboard that you create is the ability to, say, have a list of all your tests running within Catchpoint and their availability and performance during custom timeframes. So in this case, we have a support flow or that multi-step transaction in a full browser, and also kind of a separate monitor just of the DNS infrastructure for the domain. But then down below here, you can also say, through this multi-step transaction where I'm going from support.xerox.com, searching the products, going ahead into a product support page, search jams, search results, select jam solution, for instance, all custom names I gave that transaction. You can set custom performance thresholds to say when it is satisfied, when it's tolerating, when it's frustrated. Very useful for more of a high-level executive or management view if you just want to see the overall performance of your system based off of current thresholds you've set. But then you can also see here, we allow you to separate performance data such as document complete time, or the time when the browser fires an onload event, and availability, and you can separate it by individual locations you're running from. So this is powerful if you need to separate it by continent, by country, by individual cities, or if you have those internal nodes within Catchpoint, you can actually separate on a node by node basis and see all the performance and availability data from those individual locations. Any questions about those two kind of charts here, or the way they're kind of laid out the data?
Zach, I just wanted to explain the bar graph on the upper left.
This one here? Yep.
Yeah, so Bob, what we provided them was the entry point to support.xerox.com, and Zach built kind of a workflow and basically script step through, and they're looking at connecting to support.xerox.com, selecting a product, doing a search on a search term, and then bringing back a result. And that workflow is broken up so that you can look at the timing in between each one of those steps. So that's a little bit of background information for you. So when you see that bar graph, that's an example of what Barry was talking about, where we want to isolate what the business partner or end user is doing, and then have that set flow where we'll be able to detect whether some latency shows up, or things are slowing down, whatever it may be.
Yep, makes sense. Thank you.
Great. And if you're curious, that flow that Rob was referencing is actually a Selenium transaction, where you can see I'm opening support.xerox.com, searching for that product, and then going through with the actual interaction with the site. And these are all fully customizable to support any type of application that you want to interact with. So you can edit this on the fly, go ahead and make your own very custom scripts, as well as we actually utilize the Selenium IDE recorder if you just want to record your own scripts and then upload them into the Catchpoint portal. So you can be very flexible, or just use a recorder as well to capture those interactions.
Zach, that was a pretty cool feature. Can you show that to Bob, please?
The recorder? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this Selenium transaction here is built using a Selenium recorder as a starting place. And so we have this open source Firefox recorder here, and I'll just go ahead and open it up. So with Firefox, Selenium is an open source web automation language. And so on the fly here, I could say go to support.xerox.com, and then it's actually recording whatever interaction I had with the domain, such as if I want to click on printers here, maybe click on a certain family, into support portal. And then on the right here, it's capturing what we call Selenium verbs. So we're opening a website, we're clicking on that link that matches printers, then going ahead and actually saying, click on that 4595 family, and then going through with the user flow. And so this is actually what I did when I uploaded that transaction into the Catchpoint portal. And it was just as simple as saying, click save, and save this as a series of files, and clicking that upload button within the portal.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, any questions about that, or?
No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then from here, you can actually go ahead and replay it in the Catchpoint portal, or in the recorder, just to verify it's interacting with your site correctly.
Good.
Thank you, Zach.
Not a problem. So hop back here. And so then you can see now it's just that flow, and I took it a step further and actually did give it those custom step names. So it's a very powerful process. What's really great about this is you can actually go ahead and give it a quick name, select the browser, either IE, Chrome, or even the mobile version of those applications. And there's a few settings down here. You can set maybe custom request headers. You can actually capture those trace points or indicators, which is those reporting fields or custom metrics you want to chart. In this case, I was actually capturing data from Akamai. And then you can go ahead and set the number of locations you want to run from, how often they're running on, and then also the granularity with all the alerts are running as well. And any changes you make to this test and you click Save, it's actually going to update automatically, so you don't have to worry about those if there's an issue with a test affecting any SLA availability or performance numbers you have as well. Any quick questions about the scripting or I know it's a very high level overview of the test, but.
Yeah, I won't be doing any scripting. So if you have any questions?
Okay, yeah, the recorder will be your best friend then. Yeah.
Bob, would you have any use for dashboards though for your team on the support side?
No, my point was I personally wouldn't be doing any scripting. Yes, the dashboards would be helpful, yes.
Okay.
Yep. So kind of hopping back here into the dashboard, we have that, overall performance threshold you set, and the support separation by city. But you can also go here and say, this is actually me creating a report based off of data that Akamai is sending back about the support.xerox.com domain. So if it was a hit from their cache, it was a hit from memory, a miss from their cache, as well as a refresh miss. So they had to go ahead and still go back to origin. And so you can create performance and availability data off of those responses as well. And then going back, kind of diving down even further, I actually have a scatter plot of each view of that test run, and I'm separating it by those individual hosts on the page. So we have support.xerox.com, search products, product support page, and I'm charting individual hosts here. So you can see, in this case, this connect metric is the time to make a TCP connection to this xerox.illicitapp.com host. And it looks like right about here, there was some high connect times to that host. And then it dropped off and actually improved after that. So we allow you to kind of break down the test into its individual hosts. And then if you wanted to say, I want to investigate this further, you can actually go into this widget here, and it will actually bring you to the Catchpoint analysis engine for further breakdown or drill down into what we call the Catchpoint waterfall data. Any questions about the ability to kind of put those custom charts in there or those real-time dashboards?
No, that's great. Did he give you any information around?
No, sir.
Okay. And so you can see now I actually clicked on that custom widget I gave, and I'm now in the analysis portion of the tool. And we have that chart here within the analysis portion. So just as a quick introduction here, I have that support Xerox workflow that I recorded with the portal. And I'm actually saying chart data for the last 7 days. This is where that 3 years worth of data storage comes into play. So you can actually do a year over year comparison. In this case, just 7 days of data here. And I'm actually breaking this data down. This is where that multi-dimensional analysis comes into play. So the ability to say, oh, I want to separate it first by step names I gave it, by ISPs we're running on, by city, by errors we're seeing the Catchpoint is reporting. And then within that, also separated by different values. And there's a series of filters where you can filter by errors, by locations, by certain day of the week, time of the day. And the metrics I'm charting here are the TCP connect time for each host we're referencing, the total step time for each step from each host, and then whether that host is actually acting as a bottleneck on the overall site. I guess the funny thing is actually this host actually kind of improved after I kind of did a quick demonstration last Thursday as well. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
Well, I was
Yeah.
IMing that host name to people.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Yeah. And then on the fly here, you don't have to have it be a scatter plot. You can go ahead and change it back into a line chart, a histogram, or viewing information as buckets, a statistical breakdown, even go ahead and chart different components. So say you don't want the connect time, you want the DNS times, how many downloaded bytes, how many items from each host. It's a pretty flexible tool. I can say, well, I just want to identify that one host here and chart a few more values. And I don't want a scatter plot. I'd actually want just a line chart of that host. What you'll see now is on the fly with all the data we're capturing, you can go ahead and now it's a line chart with a pretty granular level of detail, but I can say change the interval here. And so you can create very custom charts here, put those into dashboards, or to simply make a public URL. So you can now see instead of a scatter plot, it's a line graph connecting all the dots for this one host. And then if you need to investigate further, you can just say click on that data point, and it actually brings up a list of locations that consist of that data point. And then from here, you can actually drill down and say, okay, this test run from Boston was a bit slow, or this host was a bottleneck in Boston. And if you click on that, it's actually bringing you to the waterfall charts. And so this waterfall chart is the granular level detail showing the step-by-step breakdown for that particular test run. But it also shows you a few things such as request level detail, so timing data for all the individual requests made by the browser. But also perhaps high-level views like host level, content type breakdown, those custom zone breakdowns as well. Any questions about the idea of drilling down into a waterfall chart or waterfall display?
No, thank you.
Okay. This is also really powerful because you can go straight to this drill down data from alerts you get from Catchpoint. So you can see right away if a certain page was not looking correctly when it's rendering over time. We can show you that, how it happens. But also if you want to see how the browser is viewing this information, if you scroll down all the way here, you can actually see what we call the Catchpoint waterfall. So you can see when the browser starts to render, the timing data for individual requests. And if you actually notice here, the xerox.illicitapp.com host, which we had this tag here, is actually this particular JavaScript file that was acting as that bottleneck and that we were charting over time. It was then improved after the last demonstration we had. And then you can kind of view all the timing data.
It's pretty granular. I mean, right there, the long pull is very apparent in this particular test run.
Yeah. Yep.
Bob, how do you troubleshoot today with something like this? I mean, do you guys have the ability to view a host with problems, or do you wait for a phone call? How do you do it today?
Well, it all depends. First of all, we have vendors doing our support. So they've got their own tools. We've got some tools that we glance at. We get some alerts, email alerts. It depends on the application and so forth, but we don't have anything this sophisticated.
Okay. Do the third-party people that you use, I mean, do they give you emails or something, some sort of a notification if an app is giving you problems? I mean, and then you react to it? Is that how it works?
Yeah, one vendor will send us an email, and say, we're aware of this, we're working on it. Okay. Another vendor, we normally tell them, hey, you have a problem.
Okay.
You so long.
Gotcha. Of those 60 apps that you manage, are most of those outsourced, or is there some that you control in-house?
The majority are outsourced.
Okay. And it's the vendor's responsibility for performance and availability, or you guys work together on that?
Well, they're responsible. Frequently, we have to get involved in the system.
Is there like an SLA that you're enforcing with them, or?
Yes.
Okay. And are they penalized or anything like that in terms of if they don't kind of work with you on getting it better?
Not financial penalties, no. So
Okay.
it's more like comes into play whenever we're talking about renewing the contract.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it kind of brings up a topic of being able to share data easily amongst your teams. So if I want to, say, create this chart here, and then share it with a third party that perhaps is, and to say I'll chart the last 3 days here, click draw. And so with those dashboards, you can actually kind of make those publicly available, as well as any chart you create here in the Catchpoint system. So this individual chart by host, I can actually send you a link to this chart, and you don't have to log into the Catchpoint portal in order to view it. This also applies to those drill down waterfall charts. So it's a great way to actually go ahead and create data off of and share it very easily with the teams that matter. Any other questions about anything else that you guys like to go over? Maybe the alerting or the kind of more dashboard questions, test setup.
Yeah, Zach, if you show the alert and how data rich it can be, I think Bob should see that.
Yeah, so let's go bring up a sample alert here real quick. And so on my screen now is just a sample email alert that I set up for the support Xerox with some thresholds to say that it would always trigger. But on the fly here, I'll zoom in a bit. In this email alert, we can actually say, okay, for the support Xerox flow running on a Chrome browser, transaction monitor, it hit the warning and critical triggers. And then this is the details about what actually was happening. So right away, it tells us the location, so Portland, Oregon, in this case, an Amazon node that we're running on. Actually, the IP address of that node as well. And then you can see right away the top bottlenecks that were impacting that site. So in this case, individual hosts on the page. And then with that top bottleneck, we actually go ahead and tell you what request was acting as that long poll in the test run. So right in the support email here. And then you can actually go ahead and view a list of scatterplots, a scatterplot of recent test runs. So in this particular test run, they were all pretty similar over the last few hours, except for that one period up here. You also have the ability within Catchpoint to then include a trace from our node to your endpoint, a ping, as well as a traversal of the DNS name servers for more debug analysis as well. And so then straight from this alert, you know a lot about what was going on, where's the issue, what was the actual affected host or affected request on the page. And then if you need to drive down further, you can then go into those line graphs, scatter plots, or that waterfall level detail right from the alert. And then go do all the analysis I was showing you there before. And this alert is just based off of overall page response. For any of the metrics we capture, you can set those trending threshold alerts, as well as you can actually be alerted off of the content on the page as well. So number of images, number of scripts, number of CSS files, or if that particular alert is within your first party zone or a third party zone or a infrastructure zone as well. Then each alert can actually be routed to individual users, and they can act on it and acknowledge it within the Catchpoint system. Any questions about those alerts, like the details shown in an alert, or?
No, something else. So sometimes there's localized issues,
Okay.
potentially with network. Can you show how Catchpoint can help troubleshoot those quickly where, again, it's going to right out where the problem is. You know, maybe
Sure.
it's not the application or 75% of the world, it's just a quarter of the world, and you can help zero in on root cause.
Yeah, sure. So when you say network level detail, is it kind of like where you need to get like there's packet loss along a network, or there's long round trip times internally, things like
Yeah.
that? Okay. So what's going to be really beneficial there is our traceroute monitor. So from any of those internal nodes or any public nodes, you can capture round trip time and packet loss on a hop by hop basis. And so what I'll show you here is just a quick demo one. So you have those web monitors and those transaction monitors monitoring exactly what an end user would see. But then if you need to identify right away if it's a network level issue or if there's issues with DNS servers, you can have these other tests running in the background, maybe those pings of those servers, the trace routes. So as an example here, I'm actually going to chart out data from one trace route that we can run either internally or externally. And I'll say chart out the last 7 days here as well. And so we're actually charting a trace route to an endpoint in the round trip time and percent packet loss of that trace route. But you can actually go ahead and say, well, I need to separate this down further by hop number. So each individual hop in the trace, the hop IP address, the hop host name, different ASN numbers you're processing through, hop city, hop country. And so if I wanted to see a breakdown, let's say in the number of hops for this trace, I can actually go ahead and right away and say which hop is taking the longest or has the most packet loss. And then let's say I want to also compare this to a test run like the same time the week before that to see if anything's changed right away. I can now do a time comparison with this data here. In this case, yeah. And so if you start to see like trends in like a high round trip time, you actually drill down into the individual traces here. So we could see, well, which one here took the longest. So we sort these results. You can see one from this node we have on Google's cloud here, actually. We do have, most of our nodes are located in actual tier 1 data centers, but a few of them are located on the cloud at customers' requests. But we actually allow you to see that individual trace here. So the starting each individual hop, how much packet loss, the average trip time. And then I'll actually bring up another result here as well. Let's see, like from Seattle, in this case. What we can actually do is actually compare this routing information over time with this waterfall level detail. So I could say during that same day, let's say we had one test run that was having a lot of high round trip time or high packet loss. I can say during that same day, during that full day, compare it to all the other test runs to see if any packet loss is happening at a certain area or their path has changed. We can actually show you from our origin node or the on-prem node of your case, you can actually go ahead and see how the routing has changed between ASNs, between countries or cities, and where there's packet loss along the route. So it's a great way to actually see internal network differences. And then if you want to then say, well, which route is causing the most packet loss or causing the least highest latency, most used, least used. And then from here, we actually bring in third-party BGP routing table data. So you can see if there's any BGP announcements on the network and if the routing between ASNs have changed as well. So there's a lot of network level data here if you need it to then corroborate with those web tests you're also running on the application.
So, Bob, where this would have value in your organization is if you frequently have one geographic location complaining about an issue with an application and the rest of the people aren't complaining. Before you could say, well, everybody else is fine. Now you're going to have, hopefully pretty quickly, identification of root cause of why they're having problems versus the rest of the world, and may be able to direct support outside of your group into fixing whatever the problem is.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Thanks, Zach.
You're welcome.
So Zach has a hard stop at 4, right, Zach?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So I thought maybe if you guys had more questions or, what kind of thoughts you guys have in terms of what you saw. Bob, what did you think about the demo and maybe some feedback?
Well, to be honest, I think he bounced around a little too much, and I was having a hard time focusing on what I was supposed to be looking at.
My apologies.
So just about the time I thought, oh, wait a minute, let me see what that says, we were on to 3 things later. So it was difficult for me to, I understand what you're monitoring, I understand the concept, but the tool itself, it was too quick for me to get a good.
In terms of, support for your team, looking at performance and availability, do you see this tool, even though you didn't see a lot of it, do you see some value in terms of being able to fire this up and get resolvement of a problem, a performance issue?
Sure, absolutely. That would definitely help with all of the phantom problems, the things that come and 45 minutes later, they magically fix themselves, and we know we can expect to see it again in the near future, but we don't know what caused it.
Okay. Do you work with Rob's team in terms of an application that you might build in-house or support in-house, and you guys work together on a performance issue? Or is it always, once it's in prod or in support, ops support, you guys deal with it separately?
Yes, on occasion we would have to get Rob's team involved if our, if our production support vendor, was stuck. We may have to go back to the developers.
Rob, any questions on your side?
No, I appreciate, Zach, your help again today. And Jeff, thank you for setting this up. And we'll take it offline with Bob. I'll set up a meeting to talk to him about opportunity with this solution.
Bob, if you want to see this, a little more slower and a little more detailed, we could do that with you if you want. Just it's available. We could definitely, anytime you want to try to, I guess, deep dive into this, we can do that with you and your team if that makes sense.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. All right, guys. Zach,
thank you, Jeff.
You're all set?
Great. Yeah, I'm all set on my end.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Yeah, bye-bye.